guys, don't lose touch with your guy friends. I know it can feel like an effort at times, but make the effort to go out because they probably need the interaction as much as you do.
Yes, and you guys want real friends, not deal friends. Okay.
Yeah.
The deal friends are
Yeah.
for business, and those are,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and your real friends will have your back when everything hits the fan. All right. Well, welcome to the show, James and Claire. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hello. Thank you for
Hey,
having us,
great to be
Aura.
here, Zora.
So, you guys work together as a husband and wife team, and it
Yes.
doesn't always work out. So, you figured this out. What inspired you to join forces and in this space?
So it started, we actually met each other probably about 12 years ago, maybe about 11, 12 years ago now. And I had friends that were over in Ibiza, living over in Ibiza in Spain. And I would go over there and visit them. And I actually met James and his then partner, his then wife, and I was married as well, and we were getting on with our own thing. I'd actually just become, even though I had all my psychology backgrounds, stress management backgrounds, all of that kind of thing, I'd actually just qualified as a personal trainer and nutrition advisor, and James was already doing that in Ibiza, so there was always that kind of shared interest. And then it just so happens, from a relationship perspective, that James's relationship broke down and mine broke down at around the same time. And I went over to Ibiza and James pursued me on a date. And really long story short, James was already running retreats out there, wellbeing retreats, luxury retreats. And I went out there to join him in the business. And so that's how we both got, we literally went from dating to me moving over there within 3 months and then working together straight away. So, Zora, it was not without its challenges. I mean, when I say that, it's a huge understatement to say it wasn't without its challenges. We have very different ways of working. You imagine, like you kind of alluded to there, getting into a relationship and working in a business together at the same time. There were many challenges, but we are still here. And actually, we've worked through all of that stuff. We've worked through our differences. We've built an amazing brand since then with the Midlife Mentors. And we've learned so much about each other and ourselves. It's been very, very healing, actually.
Timing is everything. Honestly.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you have any kids together?
No.
You're not.
No, we didn't have any children from our previous relationship. This sounds terrible, doesn't it? But it did help that there wasn't
Yes.
any, I suppose, any connection to the past, really. We could move on together and move on forward. But obviously, from working together, we went through all the challenges of COVID and losing our retreats business because no one could travel, to
Mhm.
starting the Midlife Mentors and all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's people are like, "Oh, I don't understand how you can work together, but it has. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way now. I feel very, very blessed that I work with him, but you probably need to ask him as well if he feels blessed working with me.
Very silent now, but yeah, definitely the not having kids in the piece is just that's timing is everything, right? Again, and
Mm.
it helps a lot.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you
Yeah.
guys were destined for each other, right?
Yeah, we are destined. We were destined for each other, and yeah, we got there in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, but we have put the effort in, like
Yeah.
we speak about this very, very openly. There were lots of challenges and things, but we seeked a therapist to help us through some of those things because working together and living together and being in a relationship, sometimes those all of that stuff gets muddled. And we can all lose ourselves anywhere in a relationship, let alone when you're working with that person. So that was hugely beneficial to us, that therapy that just allowed that other third person to see things that we couldn't and to open communication and understanding.
James, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Claire said. It was definitely, there were a lot of challenges initially. I had an established business. I was very mindful of the fact I was bringing Claire into something that she might not be comfortable with because it's something I'd set up with my previous wife. And I think it wasn't healthy. I think Claire wanted to prove herself in that business. I wanted to let her feel she was taking a role. So perhaps like boundaries got blurred there. In retrospect, it's something we've talked through. And of course, like Claire said, when you're living together, you're working together, especially something as full on as running retreats, it does all become blurred. And I think for quite a few years, we're in this kind of almost stress response of we've got to make this work, relationship level, business level, striving. And it led to quite a high degree of codependency. But I'd say now, in the last kind of 2 years, we've kind of unwound that. We know the beautiful thing is we know our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to work. Like, I'll be the ideas person, I'll be the reach out person. I'm just like, oh, this. Claire will be like, do you want to think that through a little bit more? But she'll make the plans. She'll make all the processes. She's brilliant at that. So we know how to work together, and now it's quite refreshing. I'd say we've got a healthy interdependence rather than codependence. So I have my things I work on. Claire has her things she works on, and there's stuff we do together as well. But it just feels a lot more balanced, and that we've been really good at setting boundaries between work and our personal life as well.
That's probably one of the hardest challenges. The boundaries are blurred, and where is home, where is work? Even with COVID, we've seen this. We're working from home now, and when do you stop and take care of the family or your partner or whoever's around? And I'm glad you've sorted that out, and that's moving forward. And you are the midlife mentors. So what is midlife? What age are you considering midlife? Because you also both look very young in that sense too. So if your definition is, or you're hacking your age.
Acting our age.
Yeah.
We like to say that we walk our talk, definitely. The whole reason that we started initially with the podcast, because it was actually friends of ours going, well, this is just it. It's the beginning of the end now. It's just inevitable that I'm going to have an expanding waistline, low energy, life's just a bit meh. We were horrified. We were like, no, look, it doesn't have to be that way. So we started the podcast looking at research and talking about all the ways you could be healthier, you could be happier, looking at the psychology of it, as well as the fitness side. What age is midlife is a really good question. I think we're all living longer lives now, and definitely our perception of midlife has changed. You don't have to go back that far. If you watch TV shows from the 80s, right, like Cheers or the Golden Girls, and people who were like in their late 40s, early 50s, the women have all got like the blue rinse perm and the like dowdy cardigan, and the men are kind of all like, and now we see people like J-Lo still rocking it at 57 or something, isn't she? So we're redefining, I think, what it means. So I'd say it broadly, we could say from 40 to 60, 65 would be midlife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's changing because we are living longer too.
Yeah.
Perhaps if you ask younger people, they would say, oh, it's your 30s or midlife. Or maybe when we were in our 20s, we would have said that because people were living until their 60s or maybe 70. So 35, I guess, would be midlife. But now we're pushing boundaries. We're living around our 80s. So perhaps, yeah, that 40s, 50s is midlife.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'd say that is right. And we had someone who is like a cultural historian that we were talking to, and she said because we are living longer, maybe midlife now is to be like 50 to 70. But I'd say countering that argument is we know that testosterone levels in men are dropping. A 20-year-old today will have much lower test levels than a 50-year-old in the 1980s. So andropause is coming earlier. We know that perimenopause is hitting earlier for a lot of women now. So it's really interesting. We've got this longer lifespan. So we should think middle age skews later, but actually hormonally, it's potentially skewing younger in a kind of weird way.
Yeah, maybe our genes haven't adapted yet in the sense that maybe we will have our menopause birth date a bit later, or andropause, if people don't know this, is like male menopause, right? It's the men are also losing their androgens, andropause. We should actually do a whole podcast on andropause in itself. Yeah, our genes just haven't caught up. And when we think of the research hasn't been done on menopause very much because it was end of life back then. Think about 800 years ago, you were like, yeah, pretty much you're gonna die anyway. So why research you? And it's the problem that we have now is when we have older adults, we don't have so much research on the oldest of the old 70s and 80s. It needs to be done because we are living longer, and why not, really? So we need to change things up. We just haven't caught up as well. So could be. So I want to ask you guys, you together combined, you got so much. You have certifications in the nutrition and the hormones and NLP, and you're helping men and women through this midlife transition, right? Men and women. So tell us a little bit about your training and your experience in menopause, and then what tools you're pulling out of your toolbox to help women through this transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you actually fabulously came on our podcast last week. So that episode will be going out soon. And we talked about this on the podcast with you, didn't we? But, a lot of people, our background is that kind of psychology. Before we went into the physical side of things, the hormone side of things, the nutrition side of things, both of us had that background, stress management, psychology, life coaching, business coaching. And it was really interesting when we started looking more into the physical and hormonal side, how much of the stuff out there was missing that psychology component actually around menopause and but even that stress, the physiological impact that stress has, but what we can start using and utilizing with regards to tools to help with that stress, to help with that more positive mindset, to help with the low mood, the depression, the anxiety that we go through at midlife and when we're going through the menopause and men go through with the andropause. So if I have it completely honestly, that's the thing that we find, I suppose, most rewarding is really tapping into the mindset side and how we can manage our stress levels. I would say it's helping people become aware of how much they can really help themselves with those mindset tools. So things like gratitude, having that sense of being able to wake up in the morning, these tiny little hacks, these tiny little things like not turning on your mobile phone straight away in the morning, having a solid routine that doesn't take long, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but before you let the outside world in, managing your energy, managing your intentions for the day, being grateful, really tapping into that because we know the science around that. The more that we can focus on things like gratitude and really feel them, the more we're going to experience those, the more we're going to notice those things to be grateful for. That's life changing for a lot of people because we're told the world is a scary place, and it is a scary place. It's very uncertain right now. It's wild out there. But if we're able to manage our own reactions to that, if we're able to manage our own emotions, there's so much power in that, especially when in menopause, all our hormones are creating this real feeling of even more instability. I don't want to carry on talking because James will have lots more to share. Do you want to share some of the physical sides of things?
I think you're asking like how we help people. Was that the original question? Like how
Mhm.
we apply our knowledge? Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think, as Claire said, we came from that kind of mind background into the physical side, both on our own journeys. But I think what we really recognized was we are holistic beings and we need to address all of these factors, right? It's no use going, oh, yeah, my mindset's brilliant, but you're just eating rubbish and doing no exercise. And the same thing, there's no point like having a banging body because you're working out all the time, but your mind's in pieces. I really like it's that ancient Greek philosophy of healthy mind, healthy body. They knew what they were doing back then. But how we help people is we're working with private clients. It's about giving them awareness of how they're being impacted by those hormonal changes. Because it's something we hear all the time from men and women. I feel lost. I feel like a stranger in my own skin. I don't really understand what's happening. Why do I keep getting these things? So having understanding, let them have compassion by understanding what's going on for them, and then giving them strategies they can deal with. So, what are the best ways you could be moving your body? What are the kind of foods that you maybe think about cutting back on? What else could you supplement with? All that kind of stuff. What are the mindset stuff that Claire was talking to? And then we're really privileged to go into organizations and share that knowledge with workshops as well. And I feel really grateful. I get to go and deliver menopause allyship workshops. So I talk to like male audiences about the menopause, and they'll feel empowered to ask questions they maybe wouldn't ask in a mixed audience because they feel a bit embarrassed. They don't want to cause offense. So there's a variety of ways we reach people. And then, of course, for the Andropause, I wrote my book as well, the Midlife Male Handbook, simply because I was working there and men kept asking me, going, is there a book on this? I was like, no, there isn't. So I wrote it and it's there.
I think it's great that you're teaching men about menopause. I haven't met anyone doing that yet. And I think coming from a man is important because, like you said, I get a group of women in a room, and then if there's a one man in there, you see the energy shifts. There's a little defense, or there's worry, or there's maybe they don't open up as
Yeah.
much. And I think it's got to be the same for men. And like you said, they don't want to offend, they don't want to say something stupid. And yeah, they're learning. And again, they probably know is the same as many women. We're all trying to figure this out, right? Men and women. So what is in those discussions when you're teaching them, I assume you're teaching them about the stages and the hormonal fluctuations and how to help their partners or their mother or their aunt or whoever friend is going through this transition. So what is the one question that pops up most in those discussions?
Well, when I'm doing the male ones, it's normally around, it's not really a question, it's normally an observation of like, wow, I didn't realize all this stuff was going on. And then normally refer it back to moods, right? At home. And I understand now why my partner is like acting like that. And it's given me a new sense of compassion for them. So it's not really a question. It's kind of, I guess, a question they would ask is like, oh, why has my partner become so moody all the time? Is the thing that I hear a lot, but they're scared to broach that at home, right? Because they think it will trigger another confrontation. But in a safe space, they ask it, and you say, well, there's all these factors going on. There's these physical symptoms, emotional symptoms. They're like, wow, I'd never realized this. And then you're like, maybe next time approach it a different way, right? So when there is that flashpoint, just go, okay, what's going on for you at the moment? How can I help you in this moment? Because I think our initial reaction is to, when we feel attacked, we go into defensive mode ourselves, right? And then that can just escalate. So we want to try and de-escalate. Oh, when we know what could be going on, we're like, oh, are you okay at the moment? Listen, how can I best help you at this moment in time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's an assumption from us women that the men just don't care. That could be true. But actually it is that what I see a lot of the time is they don't have enough knowledge. They're not empowered with that knowledge. And they do have that fear of getting it wrong. So I would say to the women listening to this, it might, if you're getting the impression that your husband just doesn't care, maybe we could put a different lens on that. And it's just that they don't understand and don't know how to approach the subject, so they don't make it any worse.
Mm-hmm. Did you know about this vest that you can wear and it mimics a hot flash? I think it's
I do that. So I
Who
work,
does that?
it's a great organization. They're called Over the Bloody Moon. And
yes.
I'm one of their associates. So I go and I take that around the hot flashes. We get like leadership teams to wear it so they can experience it. And it's always the comments you get are like, I didn't realize like how extreme this could be and like how disruptive it is to my flow of conversation, to my thought patterns. And again, that experiential thing does give a new understanding to it.
Mm. Yeah, it reminds me there's this I can't even remember her. She's a menopause influencer from the UK and she has this series called Paul. Paul asked me how I can help his wife through menopause.
I've seen this. I've seen it. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's really funny. It's really funny, but it's almost, yeah, it's very extreme and it's entertaining. I'll see if I can remember to have a link to it, but
It's really good.
does it really well. And you think, oh gosh, yeah, it's a transition. And this is where women, how can you support? Well, bring me my coffee and shut up. Don't say anything. Don't say words. Just do the laundry. No, wait, don't do the laundry. Actually, you're going to screw that up. So you can see
Yeah, well, exactly. It's really funny, but it's funny for us women because we can see ourselves in that. But actually, if a guy's even watching that, I can see it's funny. That is how I feel.
yeah.
That is how I feel. I'm walking around on eggshells. And yeah, so it's about supporting. What James does is incredible because it's about creating that safe space for the guys to say that they feel nervous and anxious. They don't really know how to approach these subjects with their partner at home.
Yeah. Do you work with couples at the same time? With women's going through menopause and he's trying to figure it out and support her, and you can work together with them?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
we do
we
that.
do.
Yeah.
It's more often actually that we start working with the female because in the health industry, we know women are more likely to seek that support and that help and that change and that transformation. But what tends to happen is the woman experiences that real transformation, that understanding. She's really empowered with knowledge, and actually the partner can often see that change in her, and so will want to. It's really beautiful, actually. It's wonderful because he'll want to kind of learn and match her growth and understand himself a little bit better. So yeah, we work with couples and it's lovely. We really enjoy that.
Yeah. And I imagine you take a holistic approach where you're taking the mindset piece and the psychology, you're teaching them about the physiology of the body, the foods to eat, managing the stress and sleep and all that. And then do you talk about hormones and hormone therapy, and how does that fit into the rest of your plan?
We kind of do it alongside because it's really, really important. It's very important not to overload people with information. So actually, for a long time, we don't run it now, but for a long time, we had something called the Midlife Method, which actually then turned into the Midlife Reset. But it was an 8-week program that we would take people through. We had an app, and it was an 8-week program we would take people through, and it was drip feeding information across the board, building up people's knowledge and understanding, and change in behavior over time, those habits and that self-belief. So over those 8 weeks, I would be completely transformed. But we would drop in, I'd say in like week 2 or 3, some more information about hormones. There'd be a specific workshop on that. But just to really advise those people, and then we used to do group calls, but really to advise those people that whether it's exercise, whether it's nutrition, whether it's managing stress or your mindset, or all of those, they all help really regulate the hormones that are going on during menopause and andropause. So it is that really holistic approach. People don't necessarily think, and they might just think, oh, I'll go on HRT or TRT, but then not worry about my exercise or my nutrition or my stress management. And we're like, no, no, no. It all has to be that holistic, integrated approach to get the best from life.
Yeah, I see the women in my community too. And I always say you can't out hormone the bad diet life and lifestyle, but there's that group of women who are just like, you can't do all the things that we're asking them to do because they feel so bad and the hot flashes. And so then you think,
Yes.
okay, wait, maybe we need a support here. And then they can get on the ball and do all the right things. Do you ever have clients like that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's really true. There's a lot of sympathy and compassion actually for that because there are people, and I'm going to be really honest about myself here. I think I was at some stage in that pot of people that would go, just move, not but in a compassionate way, but just
Mhm.
move your body, do this, do that, not overloading, but do this, do that. And actually, the more I've gone through my perimenopausal journey and the more women I've worked with, the more I realize that exactly what you said, might just need to take one thing, or it might be that you need HRT just to give you that little bit of sleep, that little bit more energy, that little bit more cognitive ability to choose good food instead of unhelpful food.
Mhm.
So we've seen that such a lot. And in our journey, there's a lot more compassion from my side for the women that are like, I just need to go very, very steady with just one thing at a time.
We see women have triggers for hot flashes or night sweats or things like that. And sometimes it's food or sometimes it's stress or a toxic person. What are you seeing that's for a woman who says she's not going to take HRT yet or not at all? She needs some support. What is the big lever that's helping her with those vasomotor symptoms?
I would say that what you've just said there about stress and your ability to manage your reactions to things is so underrated. We're so used to this hum of stress. It's been completely normalized in life now. And people value themselves on how much they can do and how much success they have and how they manage all areas of their life like a power queen. And actually, I suppose where I would start with that is having some compassion with yourself. And with those hot flushes, for example, I do see a lot of those coming from stressful circumstances, stressful triggers. And that actually might not just be those external things. Of course, it's from what you eat. That's causing your body maybe more stress. If you've got too much sugar in it, it's causing the stress response to be even more pronounced. But I think the one that I would say really helps just with all of the symptoms is very much about managing your stress levels, being able to take space, being able to set boundaries, being able to prioritize, for example, what's most important to you. It really is that kind of internal stuff that then starts to have a positive impact on those other menopausal symptoms. But that's very much because I do still come from that background of psychology, of stress management. And I was always fascinated with how we can be healthier physically, mentally, and emotionally through some of those tools.
Hmm. So important. Yeah. The stress piece is the
It's
one
so important.
to manage. And it seems to be the biggest lever of lot of things
Yeah.
in general.
Yes. Yes. Because, sorry, Zora, just to say as well, when we're able to manage that stress response, and I don't say manage it as in we're able to just be amazing at it because we're human and life happens, but being able to have something that you can pull on, to have some tools and techniques, your sleep's going to improve. If you're going to bed highly strung, highly stressed, you've been on your phone just before you go to bed, the blue light, being able to have a routine that manages your stress levels before you go to bed, you're going to sleep better. That's going to positively impact your nutrition, your diet. It's going to positively impact how much exercise you're able to do. It impacts that managing stress impacts all the other things that have such a negative impact on our menopause.
Because you guys tackle so many things, you can pull anything out of your hat. What kind of a client, a female client, let's say, who's going through this menopause transition, are you attracting in the sense that what is her biggest complaint?
Mm. I'd say it's interesting. We've seen a big shift in this, I think, over the last few years. I think when we started out, a really common thing was the unwanted weight loss, the fat gain around the abdominal area, hips, thighs. And yeah, while that was a concern, often when you dug into it and over the course of working with them, there were other factors at play. Most of the work we do now would tend to be that, of course, we advise on nutritional principles and the best ways to move your body. But it's more around that identity piece, right? Because I think at midlife, we're redefining our identity. And often we'll just accept, oh, who I am is who I am. But no, who do we want to be? What do we want going forward? And what's the identity that I need for that? So let's model it and then let's start stepping into it. So we do a lot of work around defining values because most people are very clear on their values when they're younger and it informs their life path, but then they don't look at them or think about them again. So we're like, yeah, what are your values now? Because they change over time.
Mhm.
Where are your belief systems holding you back? Which beliefs do we want to change? What new beliefs do we want to install? So we can move forward with real confidence and clarity, with a renewed sense of purpose and a new self-identity, really, that's geared for success. So those are the clients we attract now, kind of people who've recognized that they feel a bit lost, disconnected in their life, a bit unfulfilled, and they're kind of looking to move forward to the next stage with real purpose.
Mhm. It's interesting how it's so hidden by the fact that we want to lose weight or we want to get a better body composition. And it's so, I've been health coaching, in my health coaching days decades ago. I was attracting women that way. I wanted to talk about longevity. I wanted to talk about aging. I wanted to talk about protecting your future self, but that is just not sexy. Like nobody was buying into it. Like
Yeah,
I just want to lose the weight. And
Yeah.
so in the end, I had to promote it that way, get them
Mhm.
in, and
that's what
then
we did.
go, wait a second, it's not about losing weight.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what we did.
And you know what? It's kind of depressing, right? Because we live in
It's a
this
bit.
culture that's body obsessed, and certainly so many clients are like, "Oh, if I just lose those pounds, I'll be happy in
I'll be
my life."
fixed.
And of course, yeah, you can get them to lose the pounds. They're like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, I like it when I look in the mirror, but oh, I'm still not happy in my life." And that's because we need to tweak all the internal stuff as well, right? But
Yeah.
you're right, people don't find that sexy. If you say to someone, "Oh, let's work on your values and identity," yeah, there are definitely people that get that, but it's a small percentage of
Mm.
people. But yeah, we'd rather work with people that are committed and want to make that meaningful change in their life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you learn as you go along in your business model, right? And actually your messaging and your approach that did work going with the kind of weight loss, menopause, midlife thing. It did work. And it was beautiful because we got a lot of people in and we were able by default to then start helping them understand their psychology, their limiting self-beliefs, self-sabotage, all of that kind of stuff. But actually it wasn't setting us on fire so much completely, honestly. So that's why we do more one-to-one coaching now than we've ever done around the values, purpose, self-identity rather than that weight loss thing. Because at the end of the day, you've also got to do what you really believe in. It's all about integrity, isn't it? Yeah, that's why we've kind of skewed more towards that. That's why our retreat, for example, coming up in Ibiza in October, it's our first one that's less fitness orientated, less nutrition orientated, and it's more around evolving and like that transformation, this second part of your life. Like, what do you want that to look like? If you're feeling lost, we're going to take you through some steps of how to kind of redefine your self identity and give you steps towards rebuilding a life that feels more like you.
You mentioned some of those mindset pieces. So it sounds like you're really approaching the mindset and the values, the belief system.
Yes.
Is this the biggest roadblock that you're seeing people for getting their health back or their weight managing that perfect spot that they like it to be?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think we've always known that it is because we always know that you can't outperform your own self-identity.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what you're doing externally. And this is the thing that we see in the world all the time. We're into the quick fix society, aren't we? I'll just go and do that. I'll get that done. It's fast results. But actually, if the stories we are telling ourselves about ourselves and the world aren't in line with the goal that we're going for, that self identity, your belief systems are always going to win out. So that's why we find that we'll get some success, for example, it's like the diet industry, you'll lose the pounds. But then I think it's something crazy. 97% of people put the weight back on again and more. And that is absolutely because they haven't identified with someone that's fit, healthy, slim. And that's when you get into this negative loop by keep trying the same thing over and over and over again. And each time your self-esteem and your self-love just diminishes each time. So that's why, yes, of course, we teach people the external things, but we want them to look at what they think about themselves, what stories they are telling themselves, and to help them realize that they are not fixed. We know from neuroscience now that our personality is not fixed. We thought it was years ago, but it's not at all. And actually, we can rebuild new neural pathways. And the more we think something, the more that neural pathway grows and thickens.
Mhm.
So it's about teaching people the science so they understand, but then the tools as well to start making those changes.
Are you able to help people through eating disorders or bulimia or who, because you're
Yeah,
like background, so I'm thinking maybe emotional eating, maybe
Hmm.
something can.
I have one-to-one, particularly I don't think James has, sorry to speak for you. I have helped, I had an eating disorder when I was younger. It's kind of lived experience as well, but every single person is different anyway, but everyone's eating disorder is different and triggered by something very, very different.
Mhm.
So I have, on a one-to-one basis, ended up tapping into some of that stuff. It's not necessarily what someone has come to me for, but it transpires that they have had disordered eating, and then I'm able to support them. It's a very similar process. Like I think you probably just tapped into then. It's a very similar process, I suppose, of going through that. But what I would say is if there's a glimmer of someone having an eating disorder now, and that I can see that that's really impacting. Eating disorder is different from emotional eating. If I can see someone has got an eating disorder now and it's still impacting them, I wouldn't work with them because that's not necessarily my role. If I can see it's still impacting them, then I would send them to a psychologist, a counselor, refer them to their GP. I think that's the most moral thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, we have to know our limitation. I wanted to know, yeah,
Exactly.
that experience too, because some people like they're shy or they don't realize they have childhood trauma or for whatever
Yeah.
reason, and they may go, okay, maybe I need to, yeah, this is would be a good place for me as well. But the same thing when I was coaching, I I could identify it right away. But I
Yes.
was clearly, I was just say from day one, this is, I don't have the qualifications for this and refer them out because it would
Yes.
not do them justice to try to drag them and tell them what to eat and exercise.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, Zora. And I think that there have been some times where people have started going through our program, for example. So it's not one to one, and then it doesn't feel right. So then we've said, actually,
You have
here's a
to,
phone call. let's talk. It's a very sensitive issue, so it's very difficult, but having that one-to-one call, identifying that and kindly saying, I think you need to go and do this first. We're always here for you. You can come back and do this, but here's your money back. If you need anything from us, let us know. But I believe this is the support you need. And then trying to help them find that person as well.
How many, what is a ratio of men to women in your programs or your retreats?
It's a really good question. I mean, we know all the research says women are far more likely to put their hands up and come forward for help. So that was reflected. I think our program, group coaching program, I'd say it was like 85% plus women, 85% plus female. And I'm fortunate, I do work with like male clients and have people reaching out to me, but I'd say men are much less likely to reach out than women. Often I'll get men by way of referral, sometimes through their partners or wives. Sometimes, yeah, I'm working with corporates and they set up programs and they'll refer people through to me programs for like self-development. But yeah, I mean, across the board, we know men are far less likely to say, hey, I need some help with this. So we need to start normalizing that conversation because I think, particularly at the age group we're talking about, culturally, we've been conditioned to be like, oh, swallow your problems, keep them inside, yeah, don't talk about them, try and handle it yourself. And yet there's some merit to that. If it's starting to feel it's overwhelming us and we're not on our life course and it's impacting our relationships or our career, then yeah, why not seek help? Some of my biggest breakthroughs have gone, I'm a bit stuck on this thing. Do you think you could help me with it? And then yeah, you can move forward.
So I want to move in quickly just to dip my toes into the andropause question. What do you think a woman in midlife needs to learn or know about andropause?
Yeah, so I think we've got a real perception problem around this at the moment. If we look at the popular press at the moment, we see lots of articles about, oh, grumpy old man syndrome, miserable man syndrome. There's a new one yesterday going, oh, man, we're just the emotional keepers of men that can't open up to anyone else. And it's great, but I mean, here's my challenge to listeners. Flip that round. If you were saying that about women going through menopause, would that feel right? And what would the reaction be? And here's the sad truth. Midlife men is the highest suicide group of all. Their suicide rate is almost 5 times that of women of all ages. Right? So there's a very serious kind of
They're
mental
more
health issue with
successful
this.
at it. The attempts, the women don't seem to, there are more attempts for women, as I understand, but we're just not as good. Like
Oh, right. Could
you're
be.
at it,
Could be.
and there are more deaths than with
They
the
don't report that, do they?
No. But I think because of this popular press, we'll speak to them in their part. The signs to look out for is your partner becoming a bit more withdrawn, right? Are they not wanting to go out as much, socialize as much? Maybe they've got a shorter temper with you. They just kind of look like they've lost their mojo. Maybe libido is like fluctuating or disappeared completely. All these could be signs of andropause, but rather than like at the moment mocking the guy for it, let's try and understand what he could be going through, what's going on there, because we're only just starting to explore this topic. The fact is that, like women have estrogen, men have testosterone, it's our primary sex hormone. It peaks in our 20s and declines at a steady rate, 1 to 3% per year. But by the time we're in our 50s, it could be 30 to 50% lower. So for women, the perimenopause and menopause is happening in quite a narrow window of time. So the symptoms are very pronounced or can be pronounced for women. So they're very aware that they're going through it. It's a little more insidious for the man. It's something like, oh, you know what? I'm getting a bit weaker. I can see I haven't got the energy. I'm putting on more weight. Oh, my libido is gone. I'm not as confident. I've got a bit more anxiety. And you might just put it down to stress, being tired, aging, but you know, it could be due to low testosterone. And there's something you can do about it. So we'll move on to that. But just, yeah, if you see that a man in your life is exhibiting any of those symptoms, maybe just start talking about, oh, what's going on for you at the moment? How are you feeling about life in general? Have you considered going to your doctor to get a testosterone test? It's really simple. Just take some blood and they'll give you a reading. Now, the truth is, as you all know from your work, we can alter our hormone levels by lifestyle adjustments. So if we clean up our diet, if we train in a certain way, we can boost those testosterone levels back up. It may be the case that you do need to top it up with exogenous hormones, testosterone replacement therapy. But I would say for men, that's not as straightforward as HRT. There's a few considerations. There's an impact on fertility. So if you're still planning on having kids, you need to be aware of that. There are workarounds for it, but it's an issue. It's contraindicated with certain health conditions, particularly around prostate issues. And the main one for me is that once you're on it, you have to stay on it for life because you'll shut down your own testosterone production. So it's that you have to think of that long-term commitment. So as I always say, try the lifestyle first. But like you said, Zora, with the HRT, if you have very, very low testosterone, you might need a TRT just to get the ball rolling to start making the lifestyle adjustments.
Mhm.
But the first place to check in is just, yeah, go ask for a blood test from your doctor.
That's good advice. I heard your episode on testosterone and your own experiment and all that. So
Yeah.
you want to share what are some tools that I guess women as well. I mean, some of them things that you said, women can also boost their testosterone.
Yeah.
But not only for the men, but what is our non-hormonal ways we can improve our testosterone?
Yeah, sure. So it was quite interesting. I did a blood test myself and found out that I was just below normal range. I want to change that. And I successfully actually increased my overall testosterone by 50% over the course of about 6 or 7 months. So essentially what I did was just be paying a bit more attention to my diet. I eat healthily anyway, but it's about really focusing on eliminating those sugars, the complex carbohydrates, minimizing your alcohol intake. I mean, I still do drink, but yeah, I really cut back thanks to Claire being completely dry. Really could tell. I'm looking at my workouts. So I was doing a lot of volume. So bringing the volume down of my workouts, but making sure I had more recovery and make sure I was getting progressive load on them as well. So rather than just turning up to the gym and going through a routine, make sure I had that in place.
Maybe
I
you want to
think,
explain the progressive load, what that means.
yeah, when we're resistance training, and this is for men and women, the goal is to build new muscle. And ladies, no, you're not going to start looking like a really massive power lifter if you start lifting weights. It just will not happen because you haven't got testosterone availability in your bodies. But where people go wrong is, right, they'll get a routine and say one of the moves is a dumbbell, 3 sets of 10 dumbbell curls. And they'll pick up a 10 kilo weight and they do it. 15 weeks later, they're still doing 3 sets of 10. There's no progression. So we want to, A, keep changing our program around every 8 weeks to challenge the way we work the muscle, but B, make sure we're always increasing either reps or weight. So we're continuing to put the muscle under tension, under stress, so it actually builds new tissue. So that's the progressive
That
part.
massively helped for me, by the way. Like, absolutely. Like, the building the new muscle, my shoulders, everything. It was actually when I went from, even though I knew it was actually getting, for me, what worked was on the last set of my sets, actually on those last few reps failing. So having a weight, even if I needed to go a little bit heavier on that last set, picking up some heavier weights to finish off with and actually getting to the point of failure.
Hmm.
And really, because we want to kind of avoid that. Like a lot of us are like, oh, I don't want it to hurt too much. I want to avoid pushing it too much. But if you can go to that failure point, that's what really grew my muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not making sex noises in the gym, I don't know. You gotta
There
do.
is a limit,
Gosh,
though.
I hope not.
There is a limit with this morning in the gym. I was like, oh no, there's just no
Yeah.
need.
Then the two other things I did was just try and ensure like more better quality sleep
Mm.
and get my stress under control. So really like leaning into that, like setting the day up right with the morning routine. I was doing stuff, but it was maybe a bit going through the motions because I've been doing it so long. So now we'll set the alarm earlier and then we'll sit in bed, Claire and I think about we'll pray together in the morning, and that really helps just set the day up.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, it's great to have these little routines together. Do you guys ever get time alone off?
Yeah.
Yes. So I know James won't mind me saying this. I am one for my own space more than James. I actually lived on my own for a lot longer. James was in a long-term relationship for a long time. I wasn't so much. So I've traveled around the world on my own. I've lived on my own, bought homes on my own. So when we got into our relationship, actually, that was one of the things. I ended up feeling quite claustrophobic, but I wasn't necessarily voicing it actually because I didn't want to upset James and I didn't want to say, I need time away from you. But actually, as we've gone through our relationship, I went away for 9 days last August. I had no devices on me at all. I switched off. I didn't speak to anyone. I was silent. I didn't speak to anyone for 9 days. That's how much I love my own space and my own silence. And it was just incredible. But I think it's really important to communicate that kind of stuff, actually, because for me, I didn't want to upset James and say, ta-ta, I don't want it. But now that he knows that that's nothing personal, it's nothing against him, I take myself off, I would say once a quarter for
Mhm.
a good amount of time just to be with myself and allow myself, I suppose, to be bored,
Mhm.
allow myself to take myself away from all the noise and journal, pray, walk. I love that. I love that. And I know, James, when I come back, it's like a renewed sense of self.
I think it's important, very important to know it's part of knowing who you are and what you want without having any distraction, whether it's a partner or kids or,
Yeah.
and that's very, very healthy. And it has, I think that the fear we have is, oh, that means I don't love you or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, listen, I think wherever we are on that introvert extrovert scale, we all need time alone,
Yes.
right? Time alone to just reflect, to process our thoughts, process our feelings, do something that's just for us to do. We don't have to worry about the other person. It's
Yeah.
so important. But the thing I want to say for guys that might be listening is it's also so important to connect with other men, right? Because I know what can happen at midlife, or again, all the research says that we isolate more and more. And what I see happening is the man will lean into his wife or girlfriend organizes the social stuff. So he'll go out when she's organized something. Maybe it's mainly her friends and they lose touch. Guys, don't lose touch with your guy friends. Make the effort. I know it can feel like an effort at times, but make the effort to go out because they probably need the interaction as much as you do.
Yes, and you guys want real friends, not deal friends. Okay.
Yeah.
The deal friends are
Yeah.
for business, and those are,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and your real friends will have your back when everything hits the fan.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think actually men do. I think this is the problem with men once they get to, I suppose, like retirement age. A lot of their friends are from work and have been from their career. And I mean, we know men define themselves more around their career, around their status and their success. And so when they reach those retirement years and do retire, again, the statistics say that the men actually kind of degrade mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and actually die earlier than us women because they haven't got that sense of self outside their work. And that goes for friendships as well. A lot of their friendship groups are inside their business. So it's really about cultivating, like you said, Zora, those friendships outside of
And
the work
that's really
environment.
hard. Yeah, we
Mm.
cover this in gerontology a lot because when, especially when a partner dies, if the wife dies and she's the social person in the family,
Yeah.
left alone, lonely. And we know loneliness kills, right? So that is because of the dependency on the females always doing the social time. And then when you try to train a man, and I'm sure you've probably done this, James, is like, how do you teach them to go and be more social? Because it's not, it's like you said, but it used to be part of work. But if you're retired or you don't have that office space anymore, it's not natural and it's hard, but it will save your life. It will
Yeah.
save your life if you, as you are aging. And as we age, we need those relationships. We know that helps us live a longer, happier life. So you got to learn how to do this. And I'm sure, yeah, you probably have some good techniques, but I want to tap into the andropause thing. One other question I had is what would you say, what can a woman do to support a man through andropause?
Well, I think just to have understanding and compassion. Again, there's not enough awareness of it at the moment. Most men haven't heard of it, let alone most women. So I think if you're the partner supporting, like we were talking earlier, like men learning about menopause is a great, it gives them a new understanding. They can support their partner better. Just try and learn a basic bit about what a man could be going through, what some of the challenges he could be facing. It will then you'll show up as a more compassionate partner and just try and keep that compassion in mind. And it can be hard. I always use this word de-escalation, right? Because here's what we see. If a woman's going through menopause and a man's going through andropause and they're both like not understanding what's going on for them individually, and then you put that in a relationship, it could really drive a wedge between them. So it's about having that compassion for yourself and the other person and going, okay, what's really going on here? Is this truly me or is there like a hormonal thing driving this? And that's why I'm showing up this way today, in which case I'm going to kind of like be compassionate with myself and explain that to my partner as well. So just having that understanding and compassion.
I think it's also about presumption as well, and this goes for both men and women. But if we're talking about women here, I think one of the things I've learnt is not to presume I know what's going on for James, not presume that I know his thoughts just because I've been together with him for a while. I mean, there are other people listening to this that have been with their partners for a lot longer, and you can presume that we know them, but we change. Like I've changed, so why would I presume that James hasn't changed? So it's about actually being curious, getting to know that person again, having the will to want to get to know that person again, but what we tend to do in relationships is we project our, excuse my language, crap onto what's going on for us. We project our crap onto them. So first of all, I would say, am I presuming too much? Am I presuming? I haven't even asked. How can I communicate better? How can I be curious? But am I also projecting any of my stuff that's going on for me onto that person? What can I learn about myself here? It's not to take complete sole responsibility because there's two people in that relationship, right? But
Mhm.
it's actually about asking yourself, what might be triggering me right now? What can I learn about myself? Why is that happening to me?
Interesting. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're all in our heads. Don't realize there's someone
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, we perceive the world from our own lens, right?
Yeah.
And that's our own unique lens. There's never going to be another version of you that perceives the world the way that you do, but it doesn't necessarily tally to everyone else. And that's where the frustration comes sometimes, isn't it?
So this is great we have to wrap up. And I think people will be more interested in learning, yeah, more about you and maybe your retreat in Ibiza that's coming soon. They'll have time. Why don't you tell us a little bit more how to find you and a little bit about the retreat?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website, which is themidlifementors.com, all one word, themidlifementors.com. And that's Midlife Mentors is our handle on most socials as well. So you find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all kinds of places. Of course, there's the podcast, The Midlife Mentors. Just search for The Midlife Mentors. It's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all the rest. The retreat is happening October 9th to 12th. So it's a long weekend. Like Claire said, yeah, there'll be early morning exercise. We will guide people through nutritional principles, but the main focus is going to be like really immersive coaching, like looking at things like values, beliefs, goal setting, and then giving you'll walk away like feeling empowered with an action plan about where do I want to go next and how am I going to achieve that, but have the blueprint to do that. And we're going to have some fun on the way as well. We've got a boat trip planned, and yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh, exciting. And open to men and women, I assume.
Open to men and
Oh,
women. Yeah.
yeah. It's really nice because actually we've got two couples coming along and then we've got some solo ladies coming along. So it's a real mix.
It's important to say we cap it at 10 people and we've already got five on there, I think.
Yes.
So there's only five spots left.
Yes.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to have links to that, and you send me the link for the retreat, but I'm going to have a link to your website and to the Midlife Male Handbook and where people can find that as well, and your TikTok, Instagram, all your social media. Thank you so much for your insight. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you guys better, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks,
Thank
Laura,
you,
for
Zora.
having
It's been
us.
great. Thanks for
Thank
having us on.
you.